right, y'all, get ready with your pit boy and your baseball bat. Let's get ready to kill some rad roaches.
Watch the series finale of X-Men next Saturday morning. Check your local listings.
Hello, you want the goodies?
Welcome to the goodie room.
And the Disney stock just keeps going down and down and down. And the Bob Iger is all like, it's gonna have me back.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I'm bag of pixie dust, contraband.
They're gonna do the Mary Poppins thing. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it.
See, here's the thing. The kids know that the only way to fly, wizard pepper.
Oh, bitch, you killed Kenny.
Kenny.
You fat hoe. I thought all you dipshits were dead.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Reina Creole, of course, always bringing you that spice when it comes to sci-fi and pop culture analysis. And speaking of keeping it spicy, welcome to the Spice Lounge, where we have fun giving those hot takes and spicy commentary with what's going on out there in pop culture. And as usual, we have got a packed show for you today. We're going to be talking about the new Fallout TV show that's on Amazon Prime that's based on the video game. We're going to be talking about X-Men 97 and, of course, some hot topics to kick off the show so you are informed. So while my friends start to gather and get here eventually, our special guest, who I'm so glad to have him on the show because it's just been way too long since I hang out with him, Guy Scar from the Bosco Scenario. How are you doing, my dear?
I am doing great for a Wednesday. We're halfway through the week, and glad I'm here, spending it in the Spice Lounge, donde está siempre caliente, with those hot topics.
God says yes, very,
definitely,
very hot topics. We just let the conversation fly here, and well, we make it pretty clippable at the same time. So let me welcome you folks that are in here. You filtering on your way on in. Let's see who we got. Well, we got Snortapoopus, new member. Thank you so much, Snortapoopus from Pinellas County in Florida. It isn't quite a welcome to Florida show unless we've got some kind of story of Florida man doing crazy stuff in Pinellas County.
That never happens.
Too much fun. And of course, Bosco is here. Muy suave. I see ya. Mm-hmm. And CJ says, thanks. Now I'm going to have that Rico Suave song stuck in my head all night.
Man, did they ever overplay that when it came out? Serious.
Man, that was nuts.
That was good music back then.
Yeah, it's like it was, it's like even though maybe the lyrics weren't really all that great, song wise, it's like okay, it's all right.
Everybody remembers it.
Yeah. Now I'm just like, I don't want to say I'm old, but I'm just like, what is that supposed to be?
Vintage. That's what we are. Vintage.
That's what we are. We're vintage. Vintage. I never thought. It's like, remember like when you were younger and you go in the supermarket and the stores and they'd be playing like the old people's music and you're just like, this is boring. Now you go in the store and I'm like, oh shoot, this.
You know what? I'm proud as a dad. I'm proud because my kids listen to the music that I used to listen to because of all the rides in the car and stuff. So the other day, my daughter was playing a whole 80s and 90s hip hop track there, and I opened her door and I'm like, I'm there, success, thank you very much, and I walked away. I was like, wow, okay. So you don't see that often in today's world.
No, you certainly do not. But yeah, it's amazing how many kids are like, yeah, I remember it. And my mom played that. Yeah, that's from
Mhm.
Reagan. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, because there's some good music. That's what we had. That's what we had, sure. Hey, Punk Flag says, hey, Lorena Creole panel and chat. X-Men 97 has been a great show so far. I do hope Psylocke and Rachel Summers will eventually
Mm.
be on it. Well, we are definitely going to be talking X-Men 97, which is one of the reasons why I have Geisker on the channel today, because we're gonna do some talking about that show. Let's see. Bonzo Kilborn says, Lorena Creole, what's cracking, mama? Well, I'm here. It's Wednesday. I'm hanging out with you guys. I'm hanging out with Geisker today. So it's a good day.
Indeed.
We got Mark Daly, who's here, says, hello, all. We have got Rust Sarah, says, hi, guys. Hello, hello, hello. Dylan Soup is here, who says, hey, Lorena. Good to see you. Good to see you. Undead Nerd is here. He says, hello, 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 hello. CJ says, I'm a classic.
There you go.
That is all right. That is all right. Okay, well, we got 18 you folks in here. Welcome to the Spice Lounge. Let's get started with our hot topics, shall we? Oh, wait. I got to do this. Jesus is in the chat.
Jesucristo.
Hey,
All
say hi. Hi. I have to say that because it's just it's but I have to say this. So when I lived in Philly, and there was like at this time an influx of Dominicans who were playing baseball, like in the majors.
right.
Well, we had a couple of them, on the Phillies team, and one guy, his name was Juan, right? One of the players. So one of the sports broadcasters says, yes, and up to bat, we have no, he said, up to bat, we have Ivan the Jesus. I'm just
Ivan the Jesus.
saying
De
it.
Jesus.
I'm like, Philadelphia is the second largest, not to say it's the same, second largest population of Puerto Ricans in America.
Yeah.
And you say
You laugh at that, but I got a story for you. In high school, I got kicked out of art class because they thought I was using the Lord's name in vain. Because an Italian friend of mine, he was like, "Oh, your name, it's really different." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Basque." And if you want to laugh and go, "My dad's name is Jesus. My grandmother's name is Maria, and my grandfather's name is Joseph." True story. And I'm like, but the teacher heard me and she kicked me out. So I had to get a letter written from home to prove that it was true what I was saying. And my father signed it in bold letters, Jesus. Like,
oh my gosh.
yeah.
Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one. Hey, Culture.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I
bud.
came in at the right time though, because Geiskar's telling stories. So yay.
Yeah,
What's
we're
up,
telling
Culture? Good to see you.
Good to see
telling
you, man.
Jesus stories.
I know. Hey, I went to school with a Jesus. It's fine.
Yeah.
I just
that
thought that
whole
was
scene in was it Die Hard 3 with Samuel L. Jackson? Thank you, Jesus. Jesus. Jesus, do I look Puerto Rican to you? One of the best scenes.
Oh man.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
now we got Culture here. It's gonna be real spicy. So let's start with our first hot topic, which I am quite excited about. And that is that Keanu Reeves joined Sonic 3 as Shadow. So Sonic 3, which is going to come out December 20th. Keanu Reeves has officially been announced as the voice talent for the character of Shadow. So what do you guys think about this casting?
Well, I was never a real Sonic the Hedgehog player or watched the cartoons, any of that. But it has a very large fan base, this whole series. So it's a well-known actor and loved actor. So I think it will be good for the franchise.
I'm with you 100%. This is a good choice. He's got a great voice. He already has voiced an animated character before in Toy Story 4.
Yeah, Duke Kaboom.
Yeah, and I look. I mean, he's just great. I mean, no, there. I point to somebody who doesn't like Keanu Reeves, right? Yeah. So
hard to find.
John Wick the Hedgehog. I can't wait for him to say, "Whoa."
Yeah.
If they have him dressed up like John Wick in the animation, that would be hilarious.
Oh, that would be such a cool Easter egg if they did that. And drop that in. No, I agree with you, gentlemen. I have not personally played Sonic that much. I was buying the Sonic games for my nieces and nephews, and when they heard about this casting, they loved it. They loved it. I think they're more excited about this casting than when Idris Elba was cast. And I'm blanking on the character's name.
He was casted for
Knuckles?
For Sonic?
For Knuckles, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, Knuckles? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a brain fart there. But yeah, I knew about the games. I knew about the characters. I played them from time to time, but my nieces and nephews, they love playing them. So they're excited about this. Or shadow watching John Wick would be awesome. Well, we'll see. Yeah, like you, gentlemen, I love Keanu and so much that he's really cool. So
he's a great human being.
Absolutely.
This guy, like public transit, gives his seat to people. That's awesome. And this is all captured by other people, so it's not like him promoting himself, right? So that's
well, and people bumping into him, right? And just he's just a genuinely nice man, and he's not a normal dude, I mean, or at least I should say, he's not a normal actor. He's just a regular person anybody can hang out with. He's a good dude. I want to see this film, and I think it's going to do pretty well coming into Christmas. I think that'll be a good time slot for it.
Absolutely.
I think it will be. All the other Sonic movies I've been into, like all the families and everything, they were there. They were just like having a great time. Of course, with the first one, it was funny because at the end, when you saw Tails, like me, and of course everyone else my age is freaking out, and little kids are like, "What? Who is that?" Oh, you don't know? Okay, we're gonna play the game so you know who it is.
You don't know your source material.
All right, very, very good, very good. Next one. I feel like I should spit every time I say Ubisoft, but Ubisoft responds to backlash that Star Wars Outlaws Jabba the Hutt mission is paywalled. Now, initially, when this was announced that there was going to be a Hutt mission, people thought it was going to be behind a paywall because they were only talking about a singular mission, so to speak. But Ubisoft has basically said, no, this is an optional mission, but there will be other missions that you can do. I think it's part of the Hutt syndicate. But I think this is not yet another black eye that Ubisoft does not need, because Ubisoft is not your friend when it comes to gaming, especially with who was it, their head guy who said that basically you should all get used to subscriptions.
Oh, I don't remember his name, but yeah, that was ridiculous, right? I flipped out about that proper. You want people to not own their games. That doesn't work, because the minute you decide to take the service offline that supports it, you've got a bunch of people with non-functional things that they paid a ridiculous amount of money for. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable.
It's unbelievable. It's like at $129.
Yes.
To get the ultimate, I think it's the ultimate edition. It's $129 or $199 for the ultimate edition. I'm not sure, but the prices are just ridiculous. Like, if you go back a few years ago, you can buy a console for that amount of money. It's insane. I don't know. they're really want to tie up this whole RMR, monthly recurring revenue for people to get hooked. And just if you want to do this mission, guess what, you're gonna have to pay for this Game Pass, right? And Fortnite itself, they do that with their skins. So it's all about feeding that frenzy. But Star Wars, let's admit it, guys. Star Wars has lost a lot of traction, and people that are gonna go and spend this amount of money on a game that give it 3 months, it'll probably be at 50 or 75% off, right? Like I think Jedi Survivor right now it's at 90% off. Like 90% off. So I don't know.
It's just ridiculous because I think when I bought Hogwarts Legacy and I bought, I think, the deluxe version, I think in max it cost me maybe like $85. And they had this like super deluxe version, but people were buying it for the collector's value because the game was just absolutely gorgeous with the gameplay that was released. So paying $80, and that was it, at least at the time. I haven't played it in a couple months, sorry. But people were putting the money out because it was worth it. And then when word of mouth came out, it was smashing records all over the place. But there is no way that I would pay $129, $130 plus
taxes,
governmental theft tax, and you put on there for something like this.
It's crazy.
Well, and on top of it all, as you said, I mean, you've got other problems that come along with this game, but I'm done giving everybody access to my information, and I'm done giving everybody, these subscription fees. I agree with everybody in the chat. This game's DOA. It has been,
it is.
Monetization of Outlaws is next level. Yeah, it is. And again, the Jabba the Hutt thing is ridiculous. They're trying to sell subscription services here at that $17.99 a month.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, and why? So you've basically paid for the game in 6 months. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're about right.
It's just it's not worth it to me. Especially if you have to go after skins and other things like that. You have all these other cosmetic things they're going to charge you for. Dude, you're not Fallout. You're not even close. Excuse me, not Fallout. Excuse me, you're not Fortnite. Sorry, I got Fallout on the brain. But you're not Fortnite. Nobody's gonna do that. I mean, this is the same thing. Didn't we just have a game epically fail with a terrible scheme? Wasn't it like the Suicide Squad kills the
Justice League? Yeah.
Yeah. And like, look, you were delivering an underbaked game with terrible character models, obvious politics, and a criminal monetization scheme. Nobody wants this. I don't want this. I'm not going to play this. Y'all can play it. Let me know what it looks like with, Boy George as the lead character there. So, let me know what you think.
No, this is just me, but I don't like to play a game with ugly chicks. Sorry, not sorry. That's my thing. But
this was the game, right? That they were doing the comparisons with the actress.
The models. She was beautiful, and they hit her with an ugly tree when they put the character, in the game, and. I'm like, this is DOA. And granted, I'm still getting back into gaming and looking at how much of this is being pushed with microtransactions and subscriptions. I mean, all of that is just in the favor of the game development companies. Because remember back in the day when you bought a game, it was done for the most part. There was maybe a patch once in a while, but that game was pretty much when you bought it, that was the whole entire thing. You bought it. There wasn't this, we're going to push this game out to you, and it's going to crash here, and it doesn't do this, and it doesn't do that, and it doesn't do that, but we'll push a patch in a week or so to fix it.
If you're going back to like Star Wars games that were epic and did really mark, the Star Wars universe. It was the KOTOR series, the Knights of the Old Republic. The first one and the second one was just what that storyline did, and the books that followed that came through it. That's what that giving to the thirsty Star Wars fans of that time that relaunched the book series that got everybody invested into it. It's the thing that I really hope to see again one day, hopefully, because Ultra knows me. I'm always hanging on to that hope. But disappointment sometimes. But yeah, I can't wait for that to happen again. X-Men 97 was a good taste of that, which we're going to talk about later. But
yeah,
that's what I'm hoping to get in the Star Wars universe sometime, hopefully.
I'm waiting for Ghost of Tsushima on PC. That's why I got to get this one built. I think it's next month. I'm like, I can't wait till I get that. But this, nah. Ubisoft just keeps punching themselves in the face. And the last hot topic, and the reason why I want to bring this up is yet again, you have people in Hollywood unnecessarily pissing off half their fan base because they want to virtue signal to the right people in Hollywood. And I'm bringing up Alan Ritchson because for those of you who know me, I loved Reacher. I love pretty much everything that Alan Ritchson has been in. He said a couple things in the past. I'm like, no worries. It doesn't really bother me. But when he's talking about, and I quote from the article, cops get away with murder all the time. It's like, excuse me? I mean, this is what he says. It's not, and you can read the article, it's not like, there's good cops or bad cops, which pretty much we already know. But this is all in the whole, all cops are bad, X, Y, and Z, same thing. And the Fraternal Order of Police didn't take too kindly to that. So they pushed back on it and basically told them, you know what, you're in Hollywood. You get 2, 3, 4 takes. We don't get that. You have no idea what it is to do, to do a job like this. And Alan pretty much fires back on X because I'd replied to him like, oh, well, I should be able to stick to my principles, right? People saying that they're not watching Reacher, but, this is what I'm saying, that, cops are bad. And it's an unnecessarily, again, forced error. But once again, you have people in Hollywood, in order for their star to rise, they've got to demonize a segment of the population. And I'm so sick and tired of this.
Yeah, makes you want to quit social media. Absolutely, like dumb comments like this.
But Geiscar, I mean, I mean, the social media is definitely the problem, and it's why this garbage is so prevalent. But I don't think this guy understands that in the business that he works, if he does do this, they're going to expect it all the time, every time. He's going to be held to this standard. They're going to look to him because he's somebody that, people enjoy watching the program Reacher and other stuff that he's been in. They're going to try to use him for his clout. And, it's going to wreck everything going forward. I have to go see a film that Lorena's going to see here real quick.
Yeah.
I want to see The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And he was one of the reasons I wanted to see it. Now I have other reasons to see it, but I'm going to go see this movie. I'm going to try to ignore everything that this idiot has said recently, and give it a fair run. Not a lot of people can do that. Very few people can do that. So this separate the person from the actor. Yeah. And this guy just severely limited the earnings potential of this film. If I were Guy Ritchie, I'd be losing my mind.
Yes. And I love Guy Ritchie's films for the most part.
The Gentleman series is amazing.
Which one? Sorry?
The Gentleman series was amazing. It was great. So Guy Ritchie's on point. And what was the other one too? The Middle East one, the war one? That was pretty good too. I forgot what it's called.
Man, I'm drawing a blank.
Oh my gosh.
But in general, I love Guy Ritchie's directing style. So Alan Ritchson was, icing on the cake. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to see this. And now it's just like, yeah, I'm going to watch it. You know, I'll be fair in my review, but it is going to be tough because this isn't like a save the whales type of thing where you had celebrities in Hollywood who had their had their causes, you know, whether it was the environment or whatever, but they were very careful not to demonize their audience for that.
Yeah.
And it's cool in Hollywood to do that now and has for several years. And he's fallen right into it. Not only is he falling into it, but trying to call people out for calling him out on this. So,
yeah. So you have a brain fart and you have to live up to what you said and live with the circumstances of it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Let's see. Virtual signaling used to be reserved for the award shows. Yeah, it used to. But now they just do it all the time. Cavill must feel great. I love Henry Cavill though. I will say that. I do. Henry Cavill hasn't stepped into that. And he's actually been very, very good about, you know, when people try to call fans toxic, and he's just like, no, that's not
passionate.
That's not it. They're very passionate,
yeah.
You know, fans.
Yeah.
So he's very careful about that. So that said, let's go on to our main topic. We've got 36 of you folks in here. Thank you so very much for joining us. And we, of course, are going to be talking about the TV show Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
That is on Amazon Prime. I believe it aired last Thursday. All 8 of the episodes dropped. I will say, I was very cautious about that. Like, why are they dropping all 8 of the episodes at the same time? Is something wrong?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Trepidation. And I'm someone I haven't gotten that far because I'm playing 3 and 4 at the same time. Fallout 3 on the PC and Fallout 4 on my PS4. But this is the first TV series that's based on a game that I've been playing. What about you two gentlemen? Have you played the Fallout games, and what was your initial gut reaction when you heard about this show?
Wow. When I heard about the show, I had no attachment to the games whatsoever. I've saw them, I heard of them, but I never played it. Until this day, I haven't played it. When I saw the series, I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. Let's see what it is. You know, Among Us, again, a game I never played as well. I enjoyed the show for what it was. But I was really going into this with an open mind. And like you said, when I saw that they dropped all 8 episodes, I found it curious. You know, I'm like, okay, why all 8? Is there something here that they didn't believe might not work? Or was it just because now that we've seen it, we all know that if they would have dropped this by episode, it would have made people talk about this a lot longer. And I think Culture, you even mentioned it too as well, right? On your review of it, which was awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
You know, the whole thing. I cracked up when you said the part about, you know, everybody talking about on the water cooler. I'm like, wait, people still have water coolers? I thought, yeah, but it was funny. But absolutely, I was kind of cautious about it. Why all 8 on one shot when you have like shows like Shogun right now that are dropping it every week and nobody stops talking about this amazing show? You know, I don't know. It's maybe that's how they had it planned from the very beginning, and that's why they did it. But yeah,
Culture.
They had an opportunity. Guys, right on point. They had an opportunity to capitalize on this for weeks on end to make Amazon. They just are forcing you to watch Amazon commercials now. So why would they want to drop this all at once to get a big commercial bump? No, because they didn't have confidence in it, or Jennifer Salke was embarrassed by it because it wasn't woke enough. And I just said that word, you know, and those are the only rationales I could come up with. So when I looked to this show, I was like, I'm kind of worried. And then some people that I know had watched an episode or two and said, it's not bad yet. And I said, okay, but just like with Disney Plus, usually by the third or fourth episode, all the shoes drop and usually on your head, and you quit. That didn't happen in the show. So as I watched it, and I thought it was perfect. It was tonally right in line with the games. Yes, I know some of the stuff got thrown out of whack in New Vegas. I get it. There's some lore that got, tread upon a little bit. That's, it happens. Look, they wrecked my Dune 2 movie by changing the entire ending, but that's another matter. So I really enjoyed this. I don't know. I spent every single hour of this enjoying myself. And I recognized about halfway through that this is really good sci-fi. And that's really in short supply. And I gave it a much higher rating than I anticipated going into it. And I just have to say, Walton Goggins is a hero.
Wow.
Oh man, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was awesome. Phenomenal in this series. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think it's what anybody expected. It wasn't what you expected, right, Geiscar?
Well, when I watched the first, I think I told Reina this and I told a few people this, it took me 2.5 episodes to get into it. And the first episode, I was into it. And then there was a little moment there where a certain character came in and I saw this character and it threw me off because I was like, oh my gosh, where are they going with this character? Is this character going to overtake Maximus and, be super, are they going to go that route? Right. So it kind of, that threw me off for the rest of the episode. And I know other YouTubers that it just took that and they checked out of the series. They didn't care, which is a shame because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to continue through no matter what this part is. And I'm glad I did because the way it turns around was awesome. And the like you said, the script is amazing. The the visuals are great.
Oh my gosh,
series is great. The whole nostalgia thing, the music itself is awesome. Yeah, so I'm glad I stuck with it.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, and I'm like, if they do with Fallout what they did with The Last of Us, I'm popping, smoking, leaving early because I was not happy with that Last of Us series at all. But when this started out, and kind of like you guys, it took me about 2.5 episodes to kind of get into it. But in the opening scene, just the color palette, and I'm such a stickler for this, the color palette alone, it was like they got that right. Everything from the cars down to the outfits down. Just how visual everything looked. And it was set up perfectly. You had some of the conflicts that were going on. People didn't want to watch TV. Why didn't Goggins' character? How come you don't want to do the thing? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. And when he tells his daughter, if it's bigger than your thumb, there's no need to be running. And just how they shot it when she's just like, Daddy, is it my thumb or your thumb? And the people behind the window, they weren't paying attention, but just the look on Goggins' face and how they did not show it to you right away at all. Then by the time they turned and saw what was going on, I'm like, oh snap, all hell break loose, people trying to get into their fallout shelter. No, you can't get in here. It was absolutely perfect.
That little girl was great. That moment was incredible. And watching that evolve and the background behind it and all of his troubles and everything else, amazing. And these reluctant, let's call them reluctant travelers, traveling companions, really do kind of seem to fit together by the end. And I'm going to say, I did not anticipate enjoying it this much or feeling like that it felt good. And I know I threw some people off on my live stream today, so people were not maybe thrilled with my opinion of this. But look, I call balls and strikes for a reason. When I write my review on Critic List tonight, It's going to be pretty glowing. So, it's definitely not family friendly. Just know that.
No. Would not let your kids watch it. Not at all. But if you've ever played the Fallout games, there is that dark, really dark sense of humor, and I'm glad they kept it in this series. I mean, even the line of, well, an ass jerky isn't going to make itself. And I'm like, is that in the game? Because I don't. And I just started laughing uncontrollably with that. The way that they balance the humor against the very, very, very obvious gore, and the fact that you've got the ordered society in the vault, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and like the Wild West going on in the wasteland. And you do see Lucy's character, which is why I wasn't quite sure about her at first, but when you see her constantly screwing up, it's like, okay, this is good. She doesn't know everything, but she has to learn how to get along. And then once she meets up with the ghoul, oh my gosh, that was
amazing.
That was nuts. And she's just like, who are you? And he's basically, you'll be
you.
that's
the
you.
line. That's what I was gonna say. That line there was awesome. I'm just you. You just give it some time.
Just give it some time. I'm like,
and then you see that happening, and it's like, wow,
perfect.
Great writing. Great show.
Yeah, they did absolutely. Pete Brett, not a girl boss, has a story arc. Maybe there's a chance. I enjoyed it. There were no girl bosses. It was, when I say it was written well, it was really written well. The dialogue, the humor, the way that the characters, grew, except for, and I gotta say this, but I'm gonna bring Bash in real quick. How you doing, Bash?
Oh, hello there. I do apologize. Hey, what is going on? Sorry to crash in on the stream right here.
Nice
but
to meet you,
thank
Bash.
you so much for having me on. I got my Pit Boy somewhere. I don't know where
Yeah,
it's
your
at
Pit
right
Boy?
now, but I do. I do. I'm so glad that people have been reacting to this series, or at least the people on this panel, if nothing else, very strongly towards this show, because Lorena, I'm a huge Fallout fan. I mean, honestly, 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, this is amazing. Absolutely. But obviously, we've seen the dissension of media and entertainment in recent years. And now there's a bit of hesitation. They almost have to win you over before buying in. I am so glad that you guys liked it.
Oh yeah. The use of the flashbacks too, to add what you were saying there right now, the way they do it in this storytelling is amazing. How it interlinks. Like if you watch the whole series and you go back to watch the first episode, because that's what I did, you notice so many things that are there in the first episode that tie into everything.
It's like hidden in plain sight, and it's not flashbacks just to fill up some time. It's flashbacks that gives you backstory to what's going on, or further explain what you've seen. And I like the fact that they didn't tell you, pay attention, Disney Star Wars, they didn't tell you, they showed you. Especially that scene where they got Vaultec and all their competitors together. I call that like the League of Villains meeting that they have. And all I'm going to say is that line, war never changes. That blew my freaking mind.
What it's all about.
And Cooper's there reading a magazine that tells some magazine. That's what it said. So I was like, wow. It's an amazing. If whoever did not watch it, definitely give this some of your time, because you will not be disappointed.
Absolutely. And even if you played the games, like I haven't gotten that far in the games. I need more time and money. But there were certain things that you saw, like what the vault looked like, where the armory looked like. And I'm like, yeah, I was stealing all kinds of stuff from the from the armory. And when they're having the shootout in the beginning, I'm like, oh yeah, I remembered. Wait until they move, because if you go in there, you're gonna die. So you don't want to do that. Also, like hacking the terminals. I'm like, yeah, I screwed that up. I'd go find the key. Okay, he went and hack the terminal. Just little things like that. Rad roaches. Ugh. Rad roaches.
Okay.
The two. Was it the 2-headed cow or 3-headed cow? They have 2 or they have 3 heads.
Usually
Yeah.
2 heads depicted in the game.
Yeah, 2 heads. So things from the game that you would see, especially when Lucy got called Daddy's girl. And that's oh my gosh, I forget which level that is, because they're with the different specialties. There is one that's called Daddy's little girl.
See those little touches, and you got to be, that was the thing that has undercut a lot of these things, is because sometimes creators will lean too heavily on those member berries, all of that, but you want to have them for the people who are coming from the video game, who are kind of like looking for those things, those little touches. So it's how you can skillfully, incorporate them into the fabric, your tapestry of the media that you're creating right there. I'm so glad that they got that right, because Lorena, you're making me want to watch the show right now.
It really is good. They handle the flashbacks and Fallout the way that the live action One Piece show on Netflix handled the flashbacks. If I had to make an analogy. But if there's one thing that I did not like about the Fallout show,
You killed me with this. You killed me.
Maximus, he's Fallout Finn. I'm sorry this was it. Because when I saw him, I'm like, okay, it's just a character who is like, he had his ass kicked so hard in the beginning that he just turns out to be completely badass. I mean, unless he was talking through the suit.
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't really interested in this guy. It just seemed like when it came to writing Maximus, it just seems like they didn't put a whole lot of work into it, and he's just kind of, on the periphery. He's not as strong as I definitely would have liked.
He progressed all the way till the end, kinda. A little bit.
Kinda.
I thought he was a wasted character. When you posted this is exactly what I was thinking. Ray, the whole time. He's very whiny, and there was very strange, but you're gonna have a really weird personality trait when you're brought up around the Brotherhoods of Steel. Because you have to remember, I mean, he was adopted at a young age by the Brotherhood and then just kind of went from there. How they tied all the events together is just good writing. This is probably why we're all taken aback, because it was such good writing, except for this character of Maximus.
Yeah, this character. Yeah. It's like, all right, if there's one thing we could ding you for that doesn't kill our enjoyment for the show, but it's pretty obvious, it's a Maximus character. But overall, I highly suggest that you do check out the Fallout show. Pleasantly surprised. It is definitely rewatchable. Storytelling is great. The mystery that they have in there that you're trying to unravel. I mean, when I first played Fallout 3, I knew Vault-Tec was full of crap, because when I hacked the terminal, I read everything that was in there. And I'm like, can't trust these freaking people. Let's see. So before we go to our next topic, first of all, 31 of you folks in here watching, thank you so very much. Angela Richter, thank you for that $10 super chat, my dear. So appreciate the support of my channel. It's so generous, and thank you. So glad I made it. I was listening on my ride home, then raced into my house. So glad you're here. glad you are here. Glad you are enjoying the Spice Lounge. It's spicy, but you can actually listen to this show in the car with your kids. Not super spicy, not like that. So, or we code it. We code it for the most part. All right, so let's hop on to our next topic. And again, under the subject header of I didn't think the show was going to be as good as it was, and that would be X-Men 97. Now, your girl, I grew up watching the X-Men animated series. I would watch it, after school. The music got me. That's one of my favorite animated series to watch. So when I heard Disney was going to be rebooting it, I was not really expecting anything really good to come for it. But I'll throw it out to you, gentlemen. Have you seen X-Men 97? And we'll start with Guy Scar.
Oh, yes.
What are your thoughts about it?
After watching the first episode, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it up till now. I think the way this is written and the whole thing of this show, what it made me do, it made me dust off my comic book box, pull out my comics from the 90s that they played homage to Jim Lee's X-Men drawings, when they did, the stills for stuff like that. So it made me go back to those comics and look for those comics. Like today's episode, that whole storyline, I'm like, I remember this storyline a bit. I know I have these books. Didn't have the chance to do it because I rushed home from work to be on this great show. And, I didn't get, I know I have them, but that's probably what I'm going to do after. I'm going to probably look for them and probably reread them. And a show that can make you want to go back and dig up those source materials is a successful show, in my opinion, because you're getting people reinvested in something that has failed, in all honesty. So I think it's a great show. The way they tie in the characters, DeMaio himself. I know there's a whole fans want him back because of the writing. He's done 2 seasons. I don't know what exactly he did to get dropped the way he was dropped, but what he put together, you cannot ignore it. It's well told stories, and it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal show. It's great to see.
I was going to ask about that because that was definitely the big controversy coming out of the show, like right before this premiered, by the way, too, which was stunning. I mean, it took a lot of people by surprise to use the fired language. It is almost unheard of in Hollywood. That's a big deal right there. And we can all kind of speculate on what the scandal behind the scenes that may have prevented this writer from continuing work on this show going forward. But I mean, you mentioned before the quality of this writing right here. I mean, is this kind of a well accepted kind of thing throughout the panel here that it was well written and that maybe DeMaio should come back?
I know for me, I didn't think this is going to be written well, but from the first episode, I was hooked. It felt literally seamless, at least to me, from the OG X-Men comic book series to this one. It felt as if no time had really passed. Even with the animation itself, like I'd heard some people complaining about the animation. I'm like, I don't get it, because the drawing, the colors, everything, very 90s. So I didn't see any problem with the animation. But yeah, when you talk about the writing, very impressed with the writing. I mean, there was one episode that was kind of, Jubilee and her boyfriend at the mall. Yeah. Okay. Okay. She is a kid. It's like, okay, fine. There's those fluff episodes of X-Men, that they would have in between. But I'm glad they got Wolverine right, especially how Wolverine feels about Jean. I'm glad they got that right. Scott's still a jerk. I'm sorry. He He is. And
they were doing my man Gambit all wrong all this time until that epic episode. Like Magneto was getting his groove on with this woman in the danger room, and just the writing on that, with Morph going through it. Oh, they got this week book. They got this week book. I guess she's working on her stamina. That's amazing writing that gets you to chuckle and laugh, and it's just awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I thought the writing was really good, which makes me wonder what it was that got him fired. So if he's got season 1 and season 2 already written and in the bag, my concern would be, what would season 3 be like? Because as far as I'm concerned, I really am not seeing any huge issues in the writing. And actually, it feels like one of the things that has respected Marvel Comics lore, probably one of the best that have come out of Disney.
100%.
Culture.
Well, I wish I could speak on this. And as far as what got him canceled, I know exactly what got him canceled from Disney, at least. And it's a real shame, because as you guys have pointed out, there's 2 seasons of this in the can, and a third one that was basically written. So this was something very bad. And I don't know. Media companies make very strange decisions. I'll leave it there.
Cyclops isn't a jerk. He's the leader. In my head canon, Scott's a jerk. But I like him for who he is. Although, I love Wolverine, but that's just my personal thing.
I have to say, they're portraying Cyclops at least up in front, and you can see his true power, the way he's been using it compared to the old series, right?
Right.
So it's great to see him, really shine in that case. We see him really use his power to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he jumps out the plane, when the Blackbird gets blown up, and then he goes, meet you down there, and he's no parachute, but he uses optic blast to slow himself down. It's like this just amazing and epic scenes that you see these characters in, that you've grown up and watched and read, that really takes you back. Like today's episode, Storm, it was just great.
Flipped out.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I? First of all, Storm, yes, it's kind of a spoiler. With Storm losing her powers, that whole arc, I was kind of annoyed that it got overshadowed a bit, but considering what overshadowed it, I'm like, okay, I'll allow it. If it was anybody else, I'd be kind of ticked off, but I'd allow that. It's, it was just written really, really, really well, and very enjoyable. And unlike with the Fallout series, they're releasing these episodes weekly.
Yeah. Makes us all talk about it even more and more, longer and longer, and it builds even more interest. And it allows us to talk about it longer, which other people might, not have watched it yet, and hear us watch it. And it just adds more viewership to it.
I thought that was the one strategy that they implemented with the release of Disney Plus. The idea that we're going to go back to the old format of releasing these things on a weekly cadence. I think I very much agree with you. I think it really does keep it in the zeitgeist, keeps people talking about it, keeps people enthusiastic about the program, and provides week to week water cooler talk and all of that, which is just phenomenal. Do you think, guys, that between these 2 shows and how they've been received, and honestly, I mean, these leading up to their respective premieres, they people were critical, and people had their opinions about these things, and obviously upon them coming to fruition, that opinion may have changed. Are we seeing a realignment here on the creative level, in Hollywood in general? Do you think? Do you think they are the creators working on these shows are a little bit more in tune with their audience?
I hope so. If this is any example to be taken, is that this animated series for as well as storytelling takes place, the bar is set up here. For me, this is Endgame type level for me. This is where I placed that series. That hype that we felt with Endgame and that scene, for me, that's where this stands in the feeling of what we're watching. So storyline that they can tell is endless, right? And many of us, some people tell me, "Oh, did you see the mid-season trailer for?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm staying away from it because I don't want to be spoiled on it. I don't want. I want this taste in my mouth to stay a little bit longer. I don't want to get disappointed by reactions or anything. I'm going to watch this every week and talk about it every week, and see if I can get more people on board this train. Because for me, this is what I said it earlier. It makes you go back and read those books. It makes you go dig into that. It makes you want to go to those comic book stores again because those are the good memories we had, right? And let's be honest, comic book stores are a dying breed now. So, if you can go out there and support your local comic book store, absolutely do it, because this show is what brings me back to those days, and they were great days. And it's just a breath of fresh air to like have to witness something that we're getting right now that is not common at all these days.
Yeah, I mean,
so we're eating good.
Yeah,
we're eating good right now.
Literally. I mean, you can tell by the way that it's written that there's this reverence for the source material, and I haven't felt like that about anything from Disney in a long time. And Geisker, you're right when you talk about the level of writing is on like I would say like Infinity War Endgame level, with all of the different storylines that are going through there. And I'm like, I remember that. I don't remember that. But it's just, you're just hooked. And it's just like, yeah, this brings back really cool memories of either watching the animated series or going back and digging out those X-Men comics. And yes, I was very glad to see Nightcrawler. I did like seeing Nightcrawler.
Nice Bishop.
I want to see Mystique, but I'll wait.
I'm sure we're gonna get everybody at one point.
Yeah. So this is surprisingly good. Again, I don't know. Culture knows. I don't know why Bo DeMaio got removed from the project, but I will say that aside, it's pretty obvious that his work speaks for itself, and it's a worthy watch. It's a worthy watch. Quite loving it. Okay. All right. I did want to talk about this really quick. The fact that it's got a TV-14 rating on it. I didn't think about this until, I saw some of the mass carnage things that were kind of going on and some of the subject matter, and I'm like, I don't remember it quite going like this, but it wasn't like smack you in your face with it. It's kind of just like, oh, that's where that's where they're going. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where they're gonna go. Did you guys feel from those you who saw it? Did you feel like the violence was gratuitous or right in line with what you would expect?
Oh, come on, there's 10 years watching worse things on YouTube and stuff like that. So let's be realistic now. This is just the powers that be that need to stick a rating on it. I found it fine. Like it was stuff that you would see in the comic books back then. So but again, we're talking back the 90s, right?
Yeah.
90s. Let's be honest. We had a little bit more freedom of expression back then. Yeah. So
smoking fools on the regular.
Yeah, pretty much. But for me, it's like, if you wouldn't have brought this up, I completely would have been oblivious to it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it, but when you do YouTube, when you do searches in Google, I'm like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's like it wasn't. So for people who are like, oh my God, it's TV-14. It's like, no. Again, like Iskar said, just a rating on it. But frankly, if you read any of the comic books, you wouldn't even really be thinking about it. It's like, this is what they do, Nothing super gratuitous that way. So I'm shocked. Both Fallout and X-Men 97, thumbs up. I was really worried about the two of those, but word of mouth so far is that it's a fun time. It's a fun time.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts about X-Men 97 before we move on?
I'm enthused to revisit this show from my childhood. I mean, I hold off on these things and really wait for the perspectives to come out, not necessarily from the mainstream media, but from people like us who are on here, who are maybe a little bit more critical about these things, and for good reason. And so to hear such enthusiastic responses to these shows, I mean, it is encouraging. I'm not gonna lie, it's encouraging, and that's great to see.
All right.
And it's also, these two series were highly reviewed as well, both on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb.
Yeah.
So, hey, take a gander.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. Did he? I don't think he did.
No.
Or maybe
in the books, I think he did.
Yeah, in the books he did,
point.
but no, not in this one. In this one, let's just say I love his sense of humor. It was a lot of fun. How many episodes is it?
I think it's 10. I think it's 10.
Okay.
Last time I checked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be reviewing the whole thing when it's finally all aired. So we're gonna switch over to a little bit of Disney news, because apparently this is really, really big. So Bash, I'm gonna go ahead and share your screens. You can go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. Well, in the Disney sphere, this is pretty big news right here. And look, there was an Anaheim City Council session. We'll get into what all this is, and it was live streamed, and I endured all 8-9 hours of it so that you don't have to.
Oh my god,
that's good. Yeah. We'll get into why that was right here, but
okay.
Let's go ahead and go with the story, and I'll break it down. The Anaheim City Council voted early Wednesday to approve Disneyland Forward, a multi-decade plan to allow Disney to develop new theme park, hotel, and entertainment around its existing theme parks. The plan was unanimously approved in a 7-0 vote shortly after 1 a.m. PT. It started at about 5 PT. So it went all the way to 1. Long session. These always are, because the Anaheim City residents obviously have a lot to say, and this was no exception right here. The public comment portion of this meeting lasted nearly 4 hours and included 84 speakers, with nearly 2/3 of those speakers in favor of the plan. So what is Disneyland Forward? I think it's very crucial to find out what this actually is right here. This Disneyland Forward is taking the property already owned by Disney and rezoning it for mixed use. So what does that mean in layman's terms? Well, you can see kind of right here what they have envisioned right here. They own pretty much everything in color on this map, essentially. However, there are very strict guidelines to how they can actually use it. This isn't the Florida deal that they had for 60 plus years until, well, they put their foot in their mouths and they don't have that deal any longer. Anaheim is a two-way street with the city, let's say. And so there are strict zoning guidelines on how they can actually use the land that they already have and pay taxes on and all of that. Mm-hmm. This seeks to do away with a lot of that and say, look, as long as what we agreed on in 1996 when the resort plan was developed, that speaks to like the environmental impact report in terms of maximum density. How many people can you actually have in these areas, right? How many rooms can you have on site? Because obviously there are traffic restrictions and so forth. How many parking lots you have to have, all that kind of stuff. As long as it's consistent with what we did in the 90s, we get to use these spaces for what we want to use them for. Because right now, for example, if you look to the left of this map right here, or to the west side, just right next to Disneyland California Adventure, you see how they have this kind of theme park space there. Yeah. Right now, that's only zoned for, I think, parking lot and commercial real estate, I believe, culture. If I'm not mistaken,
I think
right there.
yeah, that's C, which would be a parking lot, et cetera. That okay, and then there's usually numbers that are next to C to tell you what the density of that development can be, but they want to be able to use it for more than just a parking lot.
Right. You could use it for more hotels. You could use it for maybe theme park space, and they show it in this map. Oh, here's how we could expand these two parks right here. Interestingly, they don't necessarily show that here. Maybe those plans have changed. We don't know. But also too, the Gene Autry Way kind of area down at the bottom portion of that map right there. That's currently the Toy Story lot. And actually, it's been zoned for theme park use, and it has to get special approval to be a parking lot, which is interesting. But now, if it's approved that this could be mixed use, it could be any of those things, and they wouldn't have to get constant reapprovals. They wouldn't have to do any of that. So this really kind of opens up how Disney can leverage this property that they own in Anaheim. And the big thing about this is this potentially opens up a lot of the theme park space that could be applied here. Now, how Disney has gone about this has been pretty decent, I will say. They've changed a lot of their tact from the 1990s, or even just 10 years ago with the Eastern Gateway project, for example. The Eastern Gateway project would have allowed them to build a parking structure on the other side of Harbor. You can kind of see that listed right here. That's part of this proposal, but in the previous proposal, they bypassed a lot of the businesses and the foot traffic that would have that provides a lot of the revenue for those businesses along Harbor. It would have bypassed all of that, which
just to kind of that's not to interrupt you, but just for some of our folks who are familiar with Walt Disney World, and you're just like, what? I don't really. Disney World is different. For like Disneyland, think of if Walt Disney World was bordered by 192 and International Drive. Right. That's the setting that's out here where Disneyland is, which is why you have, you got to deal with the city, the city of Anaheim. There isn't this land that's set aside that, you have to take an epic journey literally to get there like you do, here at Walt Disney World, because that area out there by 192, that's exactly what happened at Disneyland, which is what Walt did not want, which is why Disney World is built the way it is. Sorry about that.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because we're going to get to why Walt was like, excuse my language, F this, we're going over to Walt Disney World, right? We're going to do something different in Florida. People for your audience, they can think of this like, this is Universal Orlando Resort of the West Coast, right? You know how they're kind of landlocked and how they're restricted in terms of expansion and so forth, and how the Epic Universe thing is such a big deal. You can kind of sort of squint your eyes and see this as a similar situation. They don't have the RCID out here. They don't have SIFTOD. They have to do this deal with the city of Anaheim, as was established back in the 50s, and was renewed or reimagined, I should say, in the 1990s. And so there's a lot of restrictions for what they can build. And that's why people are like, well, you have all this land, but why don't you do anything with it? Partially because they can't. And this is why this vote here was so consequential, because it kind of opens that whole, the floodgates out. Interesting enough, let me see if I can find it right here. Yeah. So for example, right, this shows the height map for how tall buildings can be. Remember, there are neighborhoods right next door. Right. When they play Phantasmic and they don't put those speakers right, the neighborhood next door can hear them. So they have to be really mindful of all these things. One of those things is the height map. Now, what's interesting is Disney didn't, or I should say Walt Disney didn't want anything encroaching on his theme park here. There was a plan to build a high rise right next to Disneyland that would have looked over and into the park. Well, problem is sightlines, right? You can see that from within the park, and that takes you out of the escapist environment that Walt had so beautifully built with the berm and everything like that. So he fought vigorously for the city of Anaheim to institute a a height map or a Disney cone is what they call it, where the structures closer to Disneyland are smaller, and then they radiate out at the farther away you get to the property. And you can kind of see that illustrated right here. Well, because you're building Disneyland Forward and you're rezoning some of those other areas, well, that height map has to be adjusted if you want to build anything of size. And this height map was reimagined for a little project called Westcott, if people remember their Disney history right here. This is the first iteration of Disney's California Adventure theme park that they originally proposed to the city back in the 1990s. And well, I mean, it was all out. This sphere that you see there, Spaceship Earth, is what, 150 feet tall?
Oh my, it's a little over that. I need to get
a little
out
over
there.
that, right?
Yeah.
This was called Space Station Earth, and it would have been 300 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah. In Anaheim, which was pretty
That's
insane.
pretty tall.
Yeah.
180 feet. 180 feet.
You're right, 180. Okay, 180 feet. I get the Cinderella Castle confused and stuff like that. So
you were there, and if you add the pilings, they go down 150 or more feet into the ground. So
right,
yeah,
tremendous project, by the way. The original Epcot.
I can't even imagine what the wind tunnel was going to be like under that if they would have built it. Because if you ever, people don't realize this, and it is true. Spaceship Earth, that's a big wind tunnel down through there because of how it's structured. You notice how there's like no breeze, and then you get near Spaceship Earth, and all of a sudden, Well, it doesn't matter from which way the wind blows. Once it hits the deflection point of anything south of the midpoint, it's going to all push down underneath the globe. So it gets wild. It's crazy.
There are renderings of Westcott underneath Space Station Earth, which would have been a golden sphere, by the way. There are renderings where they show the bottom portion of it enclosed, actually. And I think it may have been because of that wind tunnel effect that you talk about there, Lorena. It's a big deal. It's definitely a thing that they've had to consider. But this would have involved, instead of countries, it would have been continents that would have incorporated the architectural styles of the various areas and how that impacted or let's say inspired the countries in that region and to other regions. So it was kind of a cool concept. The berm would have been a series of hotels. You can kind of see the buildings there that would have incorporated or that would have made up these continents. On the lower level, you have your attractions, and then on the higher levels, like let's say, levels 4 through 8 or whatever, would have been your hotel rooms. And the whole park would have been flanked with these, and that would have provided you your berm right there. It's just an ambitious project, but unfortunately, Disneyland Paris opened. It was like, oh, well, about that. Unfortunately, those plans had to be scaled back significantly, or at least that was the company's prerogative at the time, and that's why we got DCA. So these residents of Anaheim remember this, though. They remember being bamboozled once by this. So there were a series of goalposts, essentially, or what do you want to say, culture, commitments, right, that were put into Disneyland Forward. Like for the first 10 years, for example, the company has to spend at least $1.9 billion on new expansions specifically for Disneyland Forward.
Okay.
Yeah, they also have commitments, and we talked about this, so we're going to expand upon all this on tomorrow. But the commitments that were made were also related to public works projects, such as an accommodation for housing, low income housing, and things like that. So and those have they have a timetable too, which blew my mind. And then I looked at some of the other infrastructure that's tied to timetables, and I'm like, wow, Anaheim is really holding me over a barrel for a change. So that was good. That was a good thing.
Well, it's interesting because that was a point of contention for some of these city council members right here. I'm going to play you a little bit of audio because this Carlos Leon, he really hit on something right here, which we talk about on our channels every single day, and it's related to those commitments and the changing winds of Disney right now.
The struggle that I have, the hesitation I have, is what comes after those 10 years. And I've shared this with you, Ken. We've had a conversation, I think, last week about this, the unknowns. And my concern is that this agreement, similar to the 96 agreement, is binding future councils to an economy that we have no idea what it'll be, where your company will be, what the board looks like. There's a lot of unknowns.
What the board looks like? Oh, he knows. He knows that it's been pretty contentious at the top there in C-suite in Burbank, and that there's been a lot of moving pieces. I'll put it that way, right? But he talks about how. Was somebody say something?
Oh no, I was just agreeing. I was just agreeing with you. He's making a very forward-looking yet sane statement, like what's going to happen 10 years after, because I'll flip it back to what happened in Florida with Reedy Creek. Okay, so at that point in time, Florida's like, we're going to get all this money. We don't have to, pay people to go out and, advertise the state of Florida, move your business. We got Disney. So they're going to take care of this for like the next 10, 20 years, whatever. We don't have to worry about it. Florida didn't see past that time period, we'll say, with that administration at the time and the administrations in succession when it came to Disney. So they could not have, or didn't, we'll say, they did not want to look past what would happen with Disney, what would happen with the future with Walt Disney World and how it affects, the surrounding areas. So, that council member brings up a very good point. It's like, what happens after those 10 years?
Yeah.
What are we left with?
That's the thing. I mean, because people remember Westcott. They remember that, well, when the company experiences something over here, maybe it's streaming, maybe it's Paris, whatever, that the company's focus and mindset changes. Bob Iger is only contracted until 2026. Well, what happens after that? Or maybe his successor says, you know what, that $60 billion that we allocated for theme parks, stuff, you know what, that may have been my predecessor's vision, but it's not my vision, and they might go in a completely different direction. And so where's Anaheim left with? $1.9 billion sounds like a lot, but I mean, it really isn't. That investment should be more like $10 billion in those first 10 years. We know this is a 30-year plan right here overall. How much are we actually going to see on that? Who knows? I think the original Grand Californian was about, that was back in 2001. I think it was like $400 to $500 million. That was back 20 years ago. And we know that construction costs have gone up by 30% in the last 4 years or something like that. The original California Venture, which was nothing to, you
could give tickets away for California.
It wasn't good.
Well, that was around $1 billion. Then in 2012, they spent another, between 2007 and 2012, they spent another, $1.3 billion to reinvigorate that park for its 2012 reimagining right there into Disney California Adventure. Look, there's a lot of open questions right here on this. However, I will say, because now this is pretty much a done deal. There is a vote in May. From what we understand, it's, this was a 7-0 vote. It looks like it's going to go through. And the people who spoke in objection to this were very much like, oh, well, we're going to get some streets taken away, and maybe we're not allocating as much as we should be towards affordable housing, all that. But this is a multi-billion-dollar investment by the Walt Disney Company right here. This is millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars going directly to the city for some of these things. This is, for, I think, 4,400 construction jobs, at least 2,000 ongoing jobs. There's not a city council member in the world that's going to look at this and go, no, we're not doing it, because Disney's terms for the first time are fairly reasonable regarding all this.
And I think people are going to find that if we get this version of a park, which we won't, but if we did, they're going to find every different way they possibly can to exploit it. You're going to try to get additional hotel space. I think they'll rework downtown Disney again. I think the area behind the Garden Walk, because they still have a little room back there, is going to end up being incorporated into something. They want to expand that as a shopping district. But Disney's made a lot of poor decisions in Anaheim over the years, and almost all of them have to do with under-delivering on projects as far as the citizens in the city are concerned. And that usually, and I know Ash is shaking it because he knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
If they under-deliver this time, I think the city is just going to be up in arms. Look, any real estate development plan that Disney has shown the public isn't official. Nothing they've shown anybody.
Discard this, by the way. Discard all of this.
Yeah,
this is just wet the palate.
But this is my favorite map right here because it shows something that Vash. Well, you got to watch the video we just did, but tomorrow morning is going to be important right before the stream. But you're going to want to look at California Adventure as it is there because the expansion that they can do with that is bigger than I even thought. Not to mention that little corner there of the Catella and Harbor Boulevard down there.
Mm-hmm.
They own that thing.
They sure do.
It has been an argument whether or not to preserve it or not because it was like one of the last things that existed, but they've kind of fenced it in because there's no good way to access that land now. Right. So I don't know. They have to rework it substantially.
I think they're very interested in saturating a lot of areas that have been previously undeveloped. The timetable is something that should be noteworthy. And Ken Potrock, for example, mentioned Avatar again, stuff like that. Apparently it's the top of the list for Disney going forward. So we'll have to see how this whole thing develops. Really, really briefly right here, I just want to say this also does open up the possibility for alternative modes of transportation from getting around Disney property. They reference in the documents that they could have maybe people movers, pedestrian bridges, all kinds of stuff, and they show these examples in the documents. These are this is all on record right here. So
again, and I'll speak on that real quick because in Florida, before they had the gondolas, they had this beautiful idea of people mover style attractions underneath covered walkways powered by solar that could be dual purpose so that they could use them for Run Disney. That was one of the things on the table until, somebody went on vacation and fell in love with the gondolas again. Disney doesn't have a great track record with gondolas. They don't stay forever. They've taken out a lot of sky rides. But, this could certainly work in that area. I think people would prefer a dual purpose ride walk kind of experience. So. Yeah,
because I can tell you right now, this Skyliner that they have at Walt Disney World, I'm not impressed with it. In the summer, it's hot. Moving air is still hot.
Yeah.
And when these things when they get into the stations, they start to speed up. I'm telling you, you feel like you're going to crash into someone else. It's, if you don't like heights, you do not want to get on this thing. I would much rather prefer what Culture was talking about. And if the weather is bad, these things get shut down.
Oh, brutal.
And then you're walking.
And then you're walking. You either walk into the parking lot, you're either walking to the bus depot, or you're walking to where the boats are. But either way, it is inconvenient as I don't know what when you walk up there to the Skyliner and they shut it down.
Well, I know we're short for time right here, but I'll say this: this is a big deal, folks, and this was one of the last votes that they needed to really kick this thing off, and should make for hopefully an interesting D23 Expo. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll definitely see. I remember when I was living in Los Angeles,
the fights that Disney was having with the city of Anaheim was just legendary. It just always seemed something was going on. Usually Disney not delivering when the city of Anaheim wanted them to, and it's nuts. I'm like, now I know why Walt came up with Reedy Creek.
Yeah,
back then.
After that hype battle, he was like, I'm done with this. I need to have full control. And that's when he started looking out east. Hey, let's see what we can do.
Well, folks, as always, this has been a stellar show, and it was a little bit short, but gotta watch a movie so you don't have to, unless you want to. So first of all, I want to thank all my panelists, especially Guy Scar, for coming on the channel. Please let people know, Guy Scar, where they can find you.
You can find me on the channels called The Basco Scenario every Wednesday, 8 p.m. We have a show called The Hangout. Come check us out. Lorena, again, thank you so much for being here. And Culture, great to see you again, bud. And Vash, nice to meet you, bud.
You are very welcome. Welcome. And Culture, where can folks find you?
Believe it or not, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Culture Casino, and I do a weekday show called The 6 Minute Daily, which Guy Scar was talking about earlier, which now has more often than not bonus time. So I talk for an extended period of time. I'm also on so many other channels. If you turn on YouTube and you don't see me, even I'm surprised.
Well, folks, definitely subscribe to Culture Casino. I love having him on the channel. Love being on channels with him. And speaking of other channels, Vash, where can people find you and what do you have going on?
Oh, and more places now, because you know about That Park Place, you know about Theme Park Universe podcast, but now just launched a new one right here, T3PO, as we like to call it, or That Park Place Podcast Online, as its longer name right there. Phenomenal response, guys. Honestly, we just launched this Monday right here. We had a debut live stream at 3 o'clock on Tuesday right there. That might be our time slot. We're still working it out right there, but a lot of enthusiastic response from every one of you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel right there. Yeah, it's a first time endeavor for me for because usually I'm in the, I like to contribute in any way I can, but back end stuff, not so good, but I've been getting into it, and your support, Lorena, Culture, it's just been unbelievable. So thank you so much. That's those are places where you can find me.
All right, very welcome. Always glad to have you on the channel, Dash. Always good. Folks, please do go check out That Park Place. Go check out T3PO. You got to check that out. And of course, Theme Park Universe. Folks, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us here on the Spice Lounge. Next week, my guest is going to be none other than Gothix TV. You do not want to miss that show. So, folks, everyone, take care. Keep those hot takes and spicy commentary going. And we, of course, will see you next time. Bye.
Adios.